ceasefire update. Developments in Ukraine and Israel. Introduction. Welcome back to Equal Ground Headlines. Today we turn to two conflict zones that continue to shape global headlines: Ukraine and Israel. In Ukraine, a tentative step toward a ceasefire has emerged alongside ongoing battles, while in Israel and Gaza, negotiations over hostages and truces continue amid international scrutiny. We'll break down the latest developments in both wars, provide context from leaders and experts, and explore what it means for peace prospects. Ukraine. Ceasefire talks and battlefield shifts. In the war between Ukraine and Russia, there are new signals and new skepticism around a potential ceasefire. Kyiv agreed to a U.S. proposed 30-day pause in fighting earlier this week, on the condition that Moscow does the same. President Donald Trump has been pressing hard for this truce. He warned Moscow of devastating new sanctions if it rejects the deal. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded that he supports ending the conflict in a peaceful way in principle. However, Putin immediately attached a list of conditions, for example, questioning whether Ukraine would be allowed to resupply its troops during the pause. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky blasted these caveats as manipulative, suggesting Putin is stalling. He doesn't say no outright, but he drags things out and makes reasonable solutions impossible, Zelensky said in a video address. Frustrated, Zelensky is urging Western allies to increase pressure with stronger sanctions to force Russia's hand. On the ground, the war's dynamics have shifted into an unexpected theater: Russian territory itself. Last year, Ukrainian forces pushed across the border and seized a small area in Russia's Kursk region. Reuters.com. A move that turned the tables and provided Kyiv with a potential bargaining chip. Now, 7 months later, Kursk is back in the spotlight as Russian troops try to encircle and eliminate the Ukrainian contingent there. President Putin ominously vowed to mercilessly destroy Ukrainian soldiers on Russian soil if they refused to surrender, although he offered to spare them if they lay down arms. Ukraine's military, for its part, denies its units are encircled, saying they've repositioned to stronger defensive lines, and that Moscow's claims of a looming rout are false and fabricated for political manipulation. While this battle plays out, its significance is larger. It's the first time since World War II that fighting had occurred inside Russia's own borders, underscoring how far Ukraine was willing to go to gain leverage. Ukraine outlook. Despite continued fighting, there are glimmers of hope that the conflict's intensity could abate. U.S. officials report getting good signals from Russia about the ceasefire proposal, and Trump called Putin's initial response promising, though not complete. Chensvi. High-level diplomacy is in motion. Trump's envoy, former real estate executive Steve Witkoff, traveled to Moscow for closed-door talks with Putin on a peace arrangement. NATO's Secretary General praised U.S. efforts, calling Trump's push to spare Ukrainian lives extremely important, while stressing that enduring peace will require strong deterrence against any future Russian aggression. Zelensky, too, struck a cautiously optimistic note, saying there is a good chance to end the war if Ukraine's security partners provide solid guarantees and support. After more than 3 years of brutal conflict, the coming weeks will test whether diplomacy and pressure can finally bring even a temporary halt to the fighting. Israel and Gaza. Hostage release and ceasefire efforts. Turning to the Middle East, the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza has entered a grinding phase of negotiations and international involvement. In a breakthrough this morning, Hamas announced a proposal to release an American-Israeli hostage, 19-year-old Idan Alexander, along with the bodies of 4 dual national hostages. This offer, reportedly mediated by regional diplomats, is based on discussions Hamas officials had with U.S. hostage envoy earlier this month. While any hostage release would be a welcome humanitarian development, the inclusion of 4 sets of remains underscores the conflict's tragic toll. It's unclear what Hamas is seeking in return, but past deals have involved pauses in fighting or aid deliveries. So far, Israeli officials have not publicly responded to this specific proposal, but they have emphasized that all hostages, dozens were taken in Hamas assault last October, must be returned as part of any lasting truce. Meanwhile, the U.S. is actively brokering for a longer ceasefire in Gaza. Steve Witkoff, Trump's Middle East envoy, has been shuttling between the parties with a new proposal to extend the ceasefire, a U.S. official revealed. However, progress appears stalled. An Israeli source says talks remain deadlocked, and a Hamas spokesman echoed that pessimism. The Trump administration's stance has been firmly supportive of Israel's war aims, but the recent G7 meeting saw the U.S. sign onto calls for easing Gaza's humanitarian crisis. Washington joined G7 allies in urging the resumption of aid into Gaza and outlining a political horizon for Palestinians' future. This coordinated statement also demanded the release of all hostages and insisted that Hamas can have no role in Gaza's future. Such international consensus adds pressure on Hamas to make concessions, while also nudging Israel to allow vital supplies for Palestinian civilians. Global scrutiny and controversies. The war's conduct is drawing intense global scrutiny. A UN Independent Commission of Inquiry released a report accusing Israel of systematic gender-based violence in Gaza, including measures intended to prevent births. Actions the Commission suggested could constitute genocidal actions under international law. These explosive allegations were swiftly rejected by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as baseless. Nevertheless, the report reflects growing international concern over the humanitarian impact of Israel's military operations. Separately, news emerged that the U.S. and Israel have quietly approached several East African countries about the possibility of resettling Palestinians from Gaza after the war. At least one nation, Sudan, flatly rejected the idea, and the revelation sparked controversy. In response, President Trump stated that nobody is expelling any Palestinians, walking back earlier hints from his administration about relocating Gaza's population. His remark is being interpreted as an attempt to quash rumors of forced transfer, which would be widely condemned. These international reactions, from UN reports to behind-the-scenes diplomacy, show that even as fighting continues, the Israel-Hamas war is being fought on the political stage as well, with narratives and future arrangements under the microscope. Conclusion. In both Ukraine and Israel-Gaza, we see wars at a crossroads. On one hand, battlefield developments and hardline posturing. On the other, diplomacy, humanitarian gestures, and global pressure seeking to pause the bloodshed. Ceasefires remain precarious and partial. Will Putin truly commit to a pause? And will Hamas and Israel find a formula to extend calm and save lives? The coming days may prove. Equire Ground Headlines will continue to monitor these conflicts from all angles. Stay informed, stay engaged, and share your thoughts below on what it will take to secure a lasting peace in these regions.